Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-20 right here inside of GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. Steve Walls, Darren Smith, our post-game live show right here on the field, man. The Chiefs are heading to the AFC Championship game for the 5th straight season, man. Talk about this game today.
Well, let me ask you this. Does it ever get OT?
Nope.
It does either for me. Look, this was really an emotional roller coaster game, so to speak, and not saying that I guess the win was ever in jeopardy, because potentially how you look at it could have been, but obviously with Patrick going down in the second quarter and returning after the half and really not playing as much like the Patrick that we know prior to the ankle injury was somewhat of a surprise and a shock. And then because they could never really break the game open and break it away, Jacksonville, to their credit, they kept the game close, and of course, with the late field goal, they backdoor covered on their end and covered the point spread for them. But overall, it was a hard-fought win for the Chiefs, and defensively, I think this is one of their best games in the Patrick Mahomes era. And
you mentioned Patrick Mahomes going down early with an ankle injury. Yeah. Then in comes Chad Henne. 2-yard line, drive down, 98 yards, touchdown. What did you see from Chad Henne today?
Confidence. I mean, the same confidence that Andy Reid and the coaching staff had with him in the AFC divisional game 3 years ago against Cleveland and Baker Mayfield and them. So, they had the faith, because remember in that game it was the 4th down play that they had to have to seal the win against Cleveland. And so for them, and the first play that they called was a passing play. I think says a lot about the confidence that Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy had in him, but also for him to be able to make that play and make that initial pass and the receiver catching it, it did a lot for him. I think the biggest sigh of relief, and I know we didn't ask it in the press room, was the drop potential interception that could have taken place. Yeah. I think because it was a loud groan, not only in the stadium but also the press box, because we were like, and of course the Jacksonville media and the team, they were like, so it was that one instance right there that things could have turned ahead, and it didn't, and it worked out in his favor along with the team, and they didn't end up looking back.
Now Patrick Mahomes went out, of course, came back second half. Sigh of relief. You mentioned that was a sigh of relief as well for the crowd. Yeah, the crowd was into it the whole game. Chiefs Kingdom did show up. What did you see from Patrick Mahomes as he came back out after the injury?
I mean, honestly, nothing really surprises us about Patrick. I mean, he does, and as I talked to him in the postgame, he has a high threshold for pain. So the question that I asked was whether or not, because of his high tolerance for pain, how much was he able to, suck up, and when they went and checked on him.
And it's a different kind of pain too, because it's cold outside.
Yeah. But also, he's wise enough to know he's not going to put the team in a position where he would hurt the team, physically or anything like that. But I also know Patrick, we know him well enough to know that you got to drag him off the field. Like,
of course.
He has to have literally a compound fracture for him to come off the field. And that's just, so when people talk about how he's going to be next week, and I know that's going to be the storyline all week, is how Patrick is going to play next week. It's not going to be, his ankle is not going to be an issue. You can think it is, but Patrick's going to be as close to 100% when the chips are pushed to the middle come next week.
Now, you mentioned next week. It's a wait-and-see game right now.
Yeah. Which is a blessing Buffalo Bills, for the Chiefs having this first game.
The Buffalo Bills will have to take on the Cincinnati Bengals tomorrow evening out in Buffalo. Yeah. Where do you see this game being played? Do you see it coming back here at Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game, or do you see it going down to Atlanta?
Well, I think we did our predictions this week, and so I'm sticking with it. I still believe Cincinnati, even though they've had injuries on the offensive line. I still think they have enough skilled players to where it's and I believe it's a mismatch when it comes to those, in which they generally have that same mismatch issues with Kansas City, where Kansas City's have problems. So
I agree.
I think if they can do that, and if Josh Allen does anything that he normally does, which is turn the ball over, I think that they can capitalize on it. So it's going to be a close ball game. I think Cincinnati wins it and brings it back to Arrowhead, where for the 4th time in the last 12 months, the Chiefs will get a chance to beat Cincinnati, get to the Super Bowl. And if it is Buffalo, we do have to travel to Atlanta. I still like Kansas City's chances.
We coming, baby. No.
I really don't hope that happens.
Well, the Chiefs did. If you guys are just tuning in, no, we're not going yet.
Okay,
we're not going yet. If you're just tuning in, the Chiefs did defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-20 right here inside of GEHF Field at Arrowhead Stadium. Remember, you can catch myself and Darren Smith. We will be live from Soiree Steak and Oyster House. Myself, Darren Smith, alongside Sean Tyler, and also DJ Q. Monday, each and every Monday, win or lose, of course. We'll be there at Soiree Steak and Oyster House, 6:30 p.m., 7:30 p.m. 18th Divine Jazz District.
So I want to ask you.
Yeah.
I know you asked me. Your thoughts on the game tomorrow? Because look, because I'm not a real big fan of the NFL doing what they're doing. I understand why they did it, but I still don't think it's fair.
It's about money.
It's about money. But they technically, if they were going to do it for next game, they should have done it for the game tomorrow as well between Cincinnati because of how that game turned out, and they called.
But it was in Buffalo. No, it was in Cincinnati.
So if anything, you should have played. But be that as it may, your thoughts on that, and who do you think pulls it out?
You know what? I think, like you talked about Cincinnati and their offensive line injuries, they had trouble last year with their offensive line, so I don't think that's anything new.
Right.
But I do think that Cincinnati will pull this game off. As much as if folks talk about Josh Allen. Even at the beginning of the season, they want to compare the two and put Josh Allen as the heir to the throne, right? And as the number one QB in the league. I just don't see it. I think Joe Burrow would have something to say about that, and we'll see tomorrow.
We've got a lot to unpack between now and next week. And again, Steve and I will either be back here. The AFC Championship game will be taking place 5:30 Kansas City time, 6:30 Eastern time. So if it's in Atlanta, it'll be 6:30. We will bring our pregame show, the pregame cheat sheet. I believe we'll probably do 4:00 or 4:30 Central. Well, I don't know. But follow us on our we'll figure it out between now and then.
Whether it's in the Mercedes-Benz Dome or it's in the press box in here at GEHA Field.
But we will be there. Can't see no matter, but Steve and I will be there bringing you all the latest information, bringing you the news. We'll be here at practice throughout the week. This is going to be a big week. We'll see the Lamar Hunt Trophy here this week, along with the two helmets, the Chiefs, and whoever else that they play. But Steve, look. I've asked Kelsey this last week, and asked him again in the press, and you understand because you've been literally by my side in the press box for the last 5 years or the last 4 years that they've played this game. How important is it, whether it's Buffalo and specifically if it's Cincinnati, for them, based off of what happened last year, to complete what they should have done last year and get to the Super Bowl this time around?
It's very important. They know what it feels like. Look, it's been 3 years since they won the Super Bowl. It's been 2019 seems like so far long ago, right? So you know what it felt like to win. You know what it felt like to go down to Tampa and lose to Tom Brady. Then the following year, you know what it felt like, to lose right here on your field to get there. So that kind of takes you back to 2018 when they lost to go to the AFC, to go to the Super Bowl. Yep. So I think, and you remember how they came out and played in 2019 to get to Miami. So I just think, they're going to come out playing very hard because in the back of their mind, they know what that feeling's like, and they've waited all year to get back to this point.
Well, couldn't put it any better. Obviously, you got, and I do want to just quickly, we've had a big turnover from last year. Obviously, there's no more Tyreek, but we've talked about it throughout the year. Yeah. The amount of new players, new faces. You got 9 rookies. I think at least 7 or 8 of them were contributing right away. Most of them on defense. You do have, I guess, what do we have on offense? I guess. Can you really? We got any rookies?
Oh, yeah, we do have Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, Pacheco. Yeah. I'm sorry. So we got those 2. But new faces as well. MVS, this is his first AFC championship. He's played in 2. I think he's played in a couple with Green Bay. Obviously, Juju, talked to him. This is his first. What do you think about those players and their contribution to the team and what they need to do to help get this team over the hump next week?
Well, some of the new faces are veterans, so I don't expect anything less. However, the rookies, even Justin Reed talked about. These rookies are no longer rookies anymore. They played a full season. Yeah. So now they're going on year number 2 with this team. And so I just think they're coming out as though they've been here before, which is really weird for any professional athlete to be able to play at this high level against this type of competition. So it just goes to show you how much of a benefit or a factor that Andy Reid's training camp is a lot of people talk about how rigorous his training camp is and how you're out there in the heat of the day, full pads, and you're doing complete workout. So I just think a lot of these guys say, hey, it's worth it at the end of the day because you get to this point and you haven't hit that rookie wall that most guys talk about.
I would be remiss if I didn't say that the play calling, both on the offense, but especially on the defensive side. Now, there's some question marks in relations to special teams, and we'll talk about that on the Red Hour. But offensively and defensively, especially with Steve Spagnuolo, because we talked in the press box about how much pressure is being put on the defense with Patrick not being able to play at that elevated level, and then the defense stepping up when they needed to most. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, you got Spags, and we talked about how much pressure is on this team as a whole, not only defense but the offense. The pressure in this game was all on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Jacksonville came in here playing with house money. Yeah, I mean, they didn't expect to be here. They won 7 or 8 straight. And so every game, like you mentioned earlier, every game was an elimination game for them.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got your back up against the wall as a Kansas City Chiefs, and you, as Steve Spagnuolo, you know that your starting quarterback is down. So you've got to turn it up. You got to call some things that you wouldn't normally call. But look, this defense, you talked about the defensive line being your X factor earlier in the game. How you feel like they did?
Well, they had 2 sacks. I thought they had more, but I mean, Frank Clark, especially in the first half, because I think I mentioned, I think it was first half, but I said that for me, the key, especially when Patrick going down, was that sack that he had, because I think that sack made it 3rd and 19 or something to that effect, and then they ended up having a punt. Yeah. And then Henny came, Henny was able, and he came and did the 98-yard deal. So I thought that was huge. And then, of course, the delayed sacking by Noddy in the second half. So I think they did their part. Look, to your point, your X factor, was the linebackers, and Nick Bolton. I mean, they came up with the fumble to force the fumble. Obviously, Watson, with the late game interception that kind of sealed the deal. And then, of course, offensively, I did say Travis Kelce. People like, but people have to understand, Kelce, while he played well over these games, he hadn't hit the end zone, and that was my thing. My thing was, I felt that especially after the last game, because we did see Patrick trying to get him into the end zone, but he couldn't get over. So I felt that if Travis could get going and get in the end zone, I felt that the spark that he would be able to bring from doing that, and people knowing he hadn't been in the end zone a minute, that would pay off, and I think it reciprocated around the stadium today.
We appreciate you guys tuning in. The Chiefs defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars 27-20 right here inside of GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. For Steve Walls and Darren Smith, remember, catch us on Monday night. Soiree Steak and Oyster House, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Myself, Darren Smith, Uncle Sean Tyler, also DJ Q. We will be live. Come down, hang out with us. 6:30 p.m., 7:30 p.m. Good conversation, great food. You never know who may show up. We'll have a few players.
It's Atlanta or Arrowhead Stadium,
we'll be here.
Steve and I, we will be at the AFC Championship game. I can't speak for nobody else, but we gonna be there.
All right. Until next week, we are out of here.